Pregnancy is a natural process, so if it's not happening or if it's not sticking, something is missing. After having a family member go through infertility and experiencing a miscarriage myself, I realized how little support and education women have around infertility. I want to change that. I'm Dr. Jane Levesque. I'm a naturopathic doctor and a natural fertility expert. Tune in every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for insightful case studies, expert interviews, and practical tips on how you can optimize fertility naturally. If you've been struggling with infertility, pregnancy loss, women's health issues, or you just want to be proactive and prepare yourself for the next big chapter in your life, this show is for you. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for being here. Part 2. People want to know.
I want to tell them.
Let's talk about air quality. Before we get into it, you briefly mentioned about fertility journey, and anyone who follows you on socials sees that you have 2 beautiful baby girls and a beautiful wife, and nobody knows how you got there. Will you tell us a little bit about your journey?
So the second baby was smooth sailing. The first baby was not. Second baby was probably like a 2 to 3 month situation, and that was a smooth sailing. First baby, not so much. It was about an 8-month journey. 8 months that felt like 8 years. And I was actually really big on telling everybody when I would see somebody at like event, how are you? I'm like trying to have a baby and it's not going so good. So I was and like the second that Rachel found out she was pregnant, I told everybody. We intentionally didn't do the whole secret thing because we're like, okay, you might have a miscarriage. Tons of people do. And I feel like it's kind of like, I have some friends here in Austin, like women in their late 40s and mid 40s that are dealing with like hormonal stuff. And it's like, it never really gets talked about. And I feel like when there's things in life that everybody goes through, I feel comfortable talking about them. And I'm trying to sort of normalize that stuff because it was really neat by telling someone, especially as we got into month, and we didn't know. I just thought first shot, you get a baby. I didn't know that. They didn't tell you that in sex education growing up. Probably a good thing, or there'll probably a lot more accidental babies out there. But we found out that wasn't the case. But by telling people, like, hey, how's it going? Honestly, not great. Very frustrated. We're trying to have our first child. It's not going good. We don't know if our stuff is broken. We don't know how long it's going to take. And I can't tell you how often the response was, it took me 2 years. Or it took me, our first 2 kids was easy, and the third kid was 3 years, and all their IVF journeys. So as soon as you give a little bit of vulnerability, it comes back in waves. And then it actually normalized and demystified the whole thing. And then everybody started sharing their tips, their tricks, their journeys, their naturopaths they worked with. So, and then same thing when Rachel got pregnant, we just told people, we're like, you know what, like with our friends and whatever, like if there's a miscarriage that happens, and thank God there wasn't, that's okay. We can tell people about that too, because Rachel was a labor and delivery nurse. So she knows how common this stuff is and how people get very protective about it. But when you hold a lot of that stuff in, you're the one who's holding it in. It's actually not any easier than putting it on the table. So that's just a personal thing that for me was part of the journey. Was by month 3 or 4, I was already very vocal about it. And then I actually started to get great advice. And I got recommended to a naturopath in Toronto that specialized in fertility. I believe so first I got like tested to make sure things were okay, and they were. So I'm like, okay, check. Which is, I think a lot of times guys don't do that.
They don't get tested usually until at least it's been a year. And that's just because most people aren't, to your point, most people are not talking about the issue. They're not taking seriously enough because you haven't suffered for long enough. And I say that because it's like you get to decide how much you want to suffer. But ideally, this is exactly what will happen is you become vocal and then you go get tested right away instead of waiting for minimum a year, if not longer, just to even get answers, which then just prolongs the whole journey altogether.
So I forget who we had to lie to, but we lied to someone.
Yep. Probably a doctor of some kind, yeah.
I think we lied to the fertility clinic that did the testing, and we told them it had been like 14 months or something, in the States, you can just pay for stuff. But in Canada, because it's covered by health insurance plans or something, it's covered, and they said they don't test for a year. So we knew to say it'd been like 14 months because I'm like,
it's covered, but under these conditions.
Right. So we told them it had been longer than it was. And then once I got tested, they actually told me at first it wasn't an antibiotic, but I had to take something. I can't remember what, if it was a supplement or an antibiotic or something, but they actually had me take something that was helpful. I don't remember exactly what. And then for her, I can't remember the problem, but I think it was a thyroid thing. I want to say synthroid, maybe. There was more intense steps that we're going to follow. And I think the first one was like a supplement or a thyroid med of sorts. And then 2, 3 months later, bam, baby was on the way. So yeah, but the journey was 8 months that felt like eternity, especially I was 27 or 28 and she was 23, 24, and we thought we were perfectly healthy. And now, honestly, I tell my friends now, I'm like, I don't see why you wouldn't just if you can afford it here, or if you could just play the cards there. And I feel like all the pressure gets put onto the woman, female, and a lot of the time I found out it's not always the female. Dad can be the one that's slowing down the process too. So it felt good to like square my side of it as well and be proactive on that. So I would encourage people, if you have to say it's been a year, to say it's been a year. Maybe you go 2 months first, but I wouldn't wait till 6, 7, 8, 9. It can really take a toll on your relationship when you're timing stuff and this and that, and your stuff's not working, and you kind of start getting depressed a little bit, and it really could ruin the quality of life. And then Rachel in her labor and delivery thing saw how often after people would give up, then they would get pregnant because the pressure that they would put on themselves was like, the stress was a big problem. So that was the journey, and journey number 3 is now underway.
Oh, no way. Congrats. That's exciting.
Here we go.
How far?
I don't know yet. There's no defensive measures in place, but this is not an active assessing. You know, we have 2 children already. We don't have any more kids. We feel complete, but there's no defensive measures in place. And, you know, maybe if a year passes, we'd start to get more proactive, but it's not even been a couple months. I had a dream when I was 19. I'm 34 now. And in that dream, we were on a sailboat in the Caribbean, and we had 2 little girls and this infant boy. And we have 2 girls. So we'll see if the dream was a manifestation or not.
Of something. That reminds me of The Alchemist. Have you read The Alchemist? No, you need to. I've been talking about this book a lot, and I read it when I was in my 20s, and I definitely did not get the insight. But the idea, there is a word that he uses, and I forget the word. It's like meritocrat or something, and it means like it is written, and you can have these. It is just written in the path, and there's different ways that the universe, world, God, whatever is going to speak to you, and it will reveal the steps that you need to know at the time that you need to know about it. But no, thank you. There's so many really good points here. I think if you're proactive, and I kind of draw out the fertility journey in 5 phases. Like the first phase is 1 to 3 years before you're thinking about trying, versus you started trying, versus it's been less than a year, 1 to 4 years, 5+ years. And I think if you're a planner and if you're proactive, you don't have to wait for the 4-year mark or the 2-year mark or any amount of time. Like you can just be proactive and take your health and your fertility journey into your own hands, because like, thank God it's only 8 months.
You brought back a memory for me, actually. There was, I was at this mastermind event in Park City, Utah. Might have been Cabo. It was 2018. Yeah, 2018. And there was a talk on pre-birth trauma, something around that. Both the trauma that the mom has experienced, but also like trauma that occurs when the baby's in the womb. Like if you go through like horrifying experiences. So I remember I went up to the speaker after she spoke, and I said, what is the opposite of pregnancy trauma? And she said, like, pregnancy love. She said soothing music and kisses and massage. And anyway, I did that for the first kid. I did not do it for the second kid. And literally our first child is a Zen Buddha child. Her favorite song is Peaceful Ohms. She lies on the yoga mat. She's 4 and looks up at the sky, and she loves meditation music and yoga. And since she was 1.5, I could take her to restaurants, business meetings. I'm like, maybe there was something. She's more emotionally regulated and balanced than, I mean, we're all pretty good, but Ari is the best by far. And even her willpower, when I was cutting out gluten to fix my psoriasis, which is working incredibly well, I was doing a 30-day no bread challenge, and Aria was 3 at the time. She's like, me too. and she loved toast every day in the morning. And then we were a week in. I'm like, REM, my, pops, my grandfather, my dad was coming in to visit. And I was like, it's his birthday, it's cake. Should we make an exception just for the birthday cake? She's like, no. She's like, we have a challenge and we have to stick to our challenge. This is a 3-year-old. I was presenting the opening to cheat on our challenge. She's like, no. The challenge is not done until J30 data. And I don't know. I think there might be something to it. So maybe for baby number 3, I have to bring it back.
Yeah, I think even I'll take it as far back as like you have to be intentional when you're making the baby and the intention of like before and what you want. I think all of that plays a role. And I have a lot of regret because I didn't do any of that with my first, and just seeing where my second is the Zen, the more emotionally regulated the everything. And it really is because I had a miscarriage. And so I came from the same, I just shared it. I hated not sharing my pregnancy the first time. I felt like I was hiding something. And I'm a very bubbly, like community oriented person. And all of a sudden I have this big secret. So with my second pregnancy, I just shared it, and it ended in a miscarriage, which then obviously I didn't expect to share that, but sharing that brought out like there was a lot of shame and guilt and things that I had to deal with and grief, but it also brought the community so much closer to me, because now all of a sudden people are like, me too. I've gone through this, and oh my God, or I feel for this. And instead of putting on this face like everything is fine, I'd have to pretend that I'm working and things are, people could really feel for me, and I could take time off work, and they didn't. So I'm all for sharing when whatever feels comfortable for you. But at the end of the day, if you're like a bubbly and you love community and that's how you connect to people, all of a sudden to keep this big secret might be actually really detrimental. Yeah. Okay, let's talk air stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, want to talk about air?
Yes, I do. So honestly, we're just kind of the big difference I think that people really want to know is the Air Doctor and the Jaspr. And then I'd love to hear some practical tools on sleeping, cooking, pets, all that, occupational travel. So what is the big difference?
We'll knock them off one at a time.
Yep.
So Air Doctor has a brand. One difference is the reason that we're able to be a lot better than a lot of these other companies, whether it's Honeywell, Levoit, Lennox, or not Lennox, Air Doctor, etc. Air Doctor is owned by a company called Ideal Living. They make, I think, 3 or 4 different air purifiers, maybe even 7 or 8 because they have Wi-Fi models. They make water filters, they make diffusers, and it's really hard to do everything great. Jaspr we only do air purifiers and we only have one model. People don't even know this, but we're on our 5th version of it. We're on like our 6th version of the filter. So every time people get new filters, it's always changing. It's always upgrading. And believe me, it would have been, from a money perspective, easy to get into making 5 different air purifiers, 3 different water filters, but we put everything into making one product incredibly good. So, I think they're doing the best they can across limited bandwidth because they do so many different things. We only do one thing, so it allows us to do that one thing better than anybody. I don't know of any other company that only makes one air purifier and they don't get involved in shower heads, reverse osmosis, and just start slapping their brands on things, or even try to invent 10 things at once. It takes a lot into the details. So that's an unfair advantage that we have. The disadvantage is Jaspr can't help you with your water. We can't help you with the little air purifier. We can't help you with your car filter. But if someone needs a really high quality air purifier at their home, we are the most qualified for that problem. So to get into some of the nitty gritty, they have a bunch of models. So I will say that they're the small, cheap $200-$300 models. I just don't think do anything really. They're too small. But now,
and that is because their filter is too small. Not the filter, but the fan is too small.
It's both. So you need, when it comes to cleaning air, you need efficiency and you need efficacy. So the efficacy is how much airflow is moving. That's how much air is passing through the filter. It's the CFM of the motor and of the fan, and how much air is being pushed out. It's also how much efficiency the filter captures. Almost any air purifier you're going to buy is going to be over 99% efficiency. Air filters don't have an efficiency problem. You could buy an air purifier the size of this cup, and it could be a super ultra HEPA filter, 99.99999, but because it's small, it's not moving enough air to be effective. You'd actually be a lot better off having a 95% effective filter it's still going to filter 95% of stuff per pass. So people worrying about micron sizes, 0.1, 0.3, 0.01, this is all marketing hoopla because they don't tell you this. When they say like it filters down to this size, that literally an air purifier that isn't hitting that standard, it's still at 98%. Like any HEPA filter is going to be incredibly good at stopping particles. A really good analogy that this guy, Dr. Mansour, a chemical engineer I worked with, he goes, would you rather have 99% of $1 or 95% of $5? So optimizing for efficiency is actually optimizing for the wrong thing. So the little air purifiers, they just don't move enough air. And especially not on fan speed 1. You would literally, if you have a small air purifier, it needs to be on full speed all the time to do anything. And now it's going to be super loud. Now, I will say Air Doctor's largest machine, it's called the AD5500. That's a great air purifier. So it's not a problem with the brand. They're small models. There's a reason we don't make a small model. It's because if you try to heat your bathtub with a kettle, you can't. The water cools down faster than you heat it up. You know, if you try to heat your whole house with a space heater, if a space heater is in a small bedroom, it's great at heating your room. Put it in your living room and it won't even be a drop in the bucket. So small air purifiers, it's fine for a 10 by 10 teeny bedroom or a closet or something like that. But when you're talking about a larger bedroom or an open area, it's too small. Their larger unit, which is the one I'm going to speak to, because that's the one that I believe is a good product. The smaller ones, I think people just, a lot of brands get excited and intrigued by making products really affordable, but sometimes it's very cheap. It's very expensive to be cheap. You know, you would need 5 of those little air purifiers to really make an impact. So their large product is actually quite good. It cleans the air, comparable to Jaspr, almost about the exact same. I've tested it thoroughly. I actually have one here that I personally tested. It's very comparable to Jaspr. It's $9.99, so it's the same price as Jaspr. Sometimes they have a bit bigger discounts. What did we do that's better? Jaspr used to be $19.75. It was a $2,000 product that we only sold to doctors and dentists. It was very hard for us to get it down to $9.99. And that was not by compromising on the product. That was by getting very efficient. So Air Doctor has, I think, about 125 employees. We have like 3. And everyone here is an air quality expert. We work with really good contractors, really good warehouse, really good partners and companies that support us. We don't have a big fancy office in California. So, because if you do all those things, you have to build that all into your price. So really, Jaspr is more of a $2,000. When we were in the dental area, we were competing against $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 air purifiers. And then we brought it down to this consumer grade. So we're not really a consumer grade product. We're more of a medical grade product with the aesthetics of a consumer product. So what's different? So Jaspr is made out of steel, cold rolled steel instead of plastic, which means Jaspr is designed to last 30 years instead of 3 years. There's a reason why Air Doctor has a 1-year warranty and we have a lifetime warranty. It's because we can. So plastic reflects the light. So if you look at an Air Doctor, it will have a big logo and you'll actually be able to see your ceiling or a window. It's very obtrusive in its design. Jaspr is a cylinder and it's steel, so it absorbs the light. It blends into your decor. You know, you can buy a $20 kettle or a $100 kettle and they both heat the water, but one of them looks beautiful on your countertop and it's made from metal. One of them looks really crappy and you're going to put it away every time you use it. I believe anything that's in a home is functional art. And I think art and feng shui is also a stressor. If you're in a cluttered space with bright light and cheap plastic everywhere, that impacts your mood as well. So it had to be beautiful and easy to use. Also, because they have if you look at the Air Doctor, I did a video about it, but on the front and the back of the filter, it's fake holes. The sides is where they have filters. The front and back are fake holes. So we collect the air 360 degrees, which means you could put it against the wall, put it against the couch, put it in the corner. Air Doctor says it has to be 1 foot from each wall, which means it's kind of sitting in the middle of your room. And then because it's only collecting the air from 2 sides, it can miss a lot of the air. Another really big thing is the transparency. So it doesn't show you the air quality in real time. We do that. Half of their models now have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which is going to contribute to EMF. We have no apps, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. I think it's I don't want an air purifier or a dishwasher or a fridge that has an app.
Yeah, I had an EMF assessment guy, and he was just like, stop buying all these stuff, like all these fridges and whatever. It's like, it doesn't need to be Wi-Fi, and it's actually an insane amount of EMF exposure that we're not aware of.
We don't need that.
Yep.
And like they call all these products smartphones, smart TVs, smart this. If it's so smart, how do come I have to control it? I believe a smart product should be set it and forget it. If it's smart, why do you need me to push buttons on my phone? The other big thing is they tell you on right on the instruction manual to vacuum the filter every month. So an air doctor has 6 filters, 2 pre-filters, 2 HEPAs, 2 carbon filters, which means every month you're pulling out your 6 filters, you're vacuuming both sides, you're changing them by one's every 3 months, one's every 6 months or so. When you add it all up, that's like 50 filter changes a year, and it's 24 filters to vacuum a year. If you have 4 of them in your house, that's 50 vacuums a year. Like, as if you don't have enough stuff to do in your life. So the product works great. It cleans the air awesomely, but it's really ugly. It's really big. And then the user experience is just not something. When I was testing it, Rachel's like, that's my wife's name. She's like, when are you going to get that air conditioner out of the living room? And then because they're a huge company, lots of turnover, customer service departments, sales departments, we just have an air quality education department. And everyone on the team speaks to customers, and it will always be that way. It doesn't matter if you do marketing, ops, anything. We all talk to the customers. So if somebody asks us something about their mold, and all of our backgrounds was air quality consulting, mold remediation. So we're all kind of industry experts who got into this business. We'll send them voice notes. We'll send them videos. We're very consultative. I believe a product is only good as the support that you have. Also, if somebody ever has a warranty claim with Jaspr, it's like my highlight offering this for people because I hate when I have a warranty and I'm just like, how do I do it? They're like, do you have the original receipt and box? It's like, no, of course not. So what we do is we ship people a brand new Jaspr. They take the new one out. They put the old one in. We give them a prepaid shipping label and we schedule a UPS to pick it up from their house. So that costs us, for $4, there's a dashboard where we can send UPS to people's house for $4. Companies are so cheap. They want you to package it up, get a box, get tape, go to your local UPS or your FedEx or your whatever, your depot. That kills like half a day. So we just wanted to make a product that we would want to be customers of. So those are some of the details. So don't get me wrong. The hair doctors, all of them are way better than your $99 Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot product, but it's hard for them to do everything good. And then the big guy, which is really effective, like I said, it cleans the air just about as good as Jaspr. It's just a lot of maintenance and aesthetic and user experience and all that. So the same reason somebody might buy like an iPhone over an Android. It's not that Androids are bad and they don't make phone calls, but Apple Care is nice. FaceTime is nice. The way it works with your Mac is really nice. So it's all those types of intangibles.
Yeah, and as a consumer, I appreciate it. I think even like looking at the environment, I just want to stop buying stuff that doesn't last, that then like you just have to put in the landfill and it's plastic and you have to replace it in 3 or 5 years. It's like, where are the products that last for the 10, 20, 30 years? Like we used to make stuff like that. Why don't we do that anymore?
A lot of companies believe in a sales methodology called planned obsolescence, where they intentionally build products that will have a short lifespan, the gearings, the brakes, the bearings, the screens, and they want the product to break. So you have to buy another one. And my philosophy is if we make a world-class air purifier with a lifetime warranty, people are going to pay a little over $1 a day. They're going to change their filters. So I like to build a business model where we build products that we're incentivized to make it last decades and not last years. Also, when you manufacture 1 ton of plastic, it puts 3 tons of carbon in the atmosphere. So if everybody buys a bunch of plastic air purifiers, it's very polluting for the outdoor environment. When you make things from steel and it lasts decades, typically it's like single-use plastics. Like if you're building products that don't last a very long time, it's just really not good for anybody. And then you're buying that cheap product every few years, you're not actually saving money either.
Yep, 100%. No, I appreciate it. Let's talk about I love it. So let's talk about how to use it. Sleeping, I think you just concluded doing a sleep study, and I can speak for myself how I've like tremendous increase in my sleep just by turning the Jaspr on speed 3 at nighttime instead of just the 1, because the air quality is good, so the Jaspr doesn't kick into a higher. But when I have it at higher speed when I sleep, I notice a big difference in the kids' room, the stuffiness, the like how often we get sick. It's huge. or the lack of getting sick, if you will, for both of us. So, any other tips that you have for sleeping environment for adults, kids, babies?
It's good timing that you're asking now because we just finished our first ever sleep study. And I'm glad that some of your patients were able to participate. 100 people used Jaspers for a month that weren't previously using a high quality air purifier. And we ended up limiting the study to people who were using Aura rings, just so we had a very consistent data set and no variability there. And Rach, I don't know what you're cooking, but it smells amazing. Wow. It smells amazing in here.
That's good.
Good thing Jaspr, and it's a Jaspr approved.
There you go.
It was, oh, she just said it was red a few minutes ago. So it's now Jaspr approved. Actually, you can see it's just caught down into the excellent zone. It's at a 27 right now. So it's still on fan speed 2. So the recommended setting is in smart. If it's in a living room, a kitchen, just like the room I'm in now, it's going to be on smart mode. In the bedroom, fan speed 2 is suggested. We've actually upgraded to become fan speed 3 people because we enjoy the white noise. It's a very soothing, and anyone, I mean, it's not, I have nothing against sleeping in silence for those who like it, but if you go camping in nature, nature's not silent. There's wind, there's rain, there's bugs, there's trees, there's leaves. It can be screaming loud in the forest, in the jungle, wherever. Maybe if you slept in a cave thousands of years ago, it was once quiet. But like, I don't think that it's more ancestral accurate to say that I'm sleeping in a sound dampened environment. And it's very hard to be resilient to changing environments. Whereas having white noise is something you can easily replicate at a hotel or at an Airbnb. And, you know, there's a lot of people use like little white noise speakers, but that's just an EMF generating speaker pretending to be wind. Whereas an air purifier is actually moving air. That's what you're hearing. And so fan speed 2 or 3 in the bedroom is awesome because then you're cleaning the air more. And a lot of those little air. So Jaspr is 430 CFM at top speed. But the more impressive thing is that it's about 120 CFM at the lowest speed. So for comparison, a Dyson is 87 CFM at the top speed. They don't tell you what the lowest CFM is, but it's probably around 15 or 20. So everybody shows their stats of their air purifier on full speed. But what I think is more important is what's your air purifier on the lowest speed? Because that is the mode it's going to be in 99% of the time. So yeah, kitchen, living room area is smart mode, bedrooms, fan speed 2. And if you're in a house, like fan speed 2 is very quiet. It's not too loud. And even during the day, I leave mine on fan speed 2 24 hours a day because then all day long, they're still contributing to the whole home air filtration system. So really, Jaspr is more than an air purifier. It's more of a decentralized whole home cleaning system. So even if it's in the bedroom, your house shares all of the air. So even if you have them in their bedrooms, they're still contributing to clean air everywhere. So yeah, those are my tips on how to use it.
And what about babies?
Baby, same thing, fan speed 2. The sleep study, I'm still compiling the data. The study ended this week, but 60, 70% of people had all-time record sleep scores, deep sleep, REM sleep scores, where the first week was Jaspr not in the bedroom. Week 2 and week 3, Jaspr was in the bedroom. And then week 4, they took it back out. And people's sleep scores are like, you can literally see it follow the curve of clean air. You know, the factors for high quality sleep, you want cool air, you want balanced relative humidity, you want a comfortable bed, blankets, sheets, pillow. Ideally, it's not bright, and ideally, it's not loud. And if your sleep is only as good as the weakest link, just like your work environment. So you have the most comfortable bed ever, but it's hot, it's going to be a rough experience. If you're, at a hotel or an Airbnb above a bar and the base is shaking you, comfortable bed and you're cool, you're still going to be in rough shape. And I believe the same is for air quality. So when people go, the average house has hundreds of thousands of particles in the air, a lot of mold spores, pollen spores, pet dander, cooking, insects parts, etc. So when all of a sudden you remove all of that from the air, I call air sleep fuel. So when you're sleeping with a clean source of sleep fuel, all of a sudden your body's able to rest, recover, heal, rejuvenate, and not be fight or flight playing defense all night trying to deal with the mold and the allergens and all that. Babies' rooms is the same. And to expand on the baby point, yeah, having a diaper pail is a big no-no because if it smells like poo, it is poo. And I've never met a diaper pail that didn't stink still. So they're not airtight. They don't have carbon filters. If it smells like poo, it is poo. If it's poo, it's bacteria, E. coli, Enterobacter. And if you test the air quality in a baby's bedroom, the bacteria levels are off the chart. So here we are building, and like if anyone's also getting a nursery ready, well, yeah, this is the perfect audience to talk to about this. Get your nursery ready ASAP. And if you have a garage, build the crib 6 months before and let it hang out in the garage. Or if you don't have a place like a garage and you have to put it in the nursery, leave the windows open for a month or two, at least several hours a day, because and this is, I'm not a fan too often of buying secondhand stuff. Like I definitely wouldn't want to buy a secondhand bed or like a organic fibrous material, but if you can buy a secondhand dresser for baby's room or a crib, then you're buying it, it's already off gassed. If you buy it brand new on your registry or whatever, it's going to off gas right into baby's face. So if you're buying brand new stuff, letting the nursery breathe adequately for a few months. Same thing with the paints, even low VOCs and no VOC paints, it's still paint. It's still not awesome.
It's still chemicals.
Yeah. It's like a loophole. It doesn't mean it's not problematic. It's still dyeing and staining walls and it's still breathing. I've never met a paint that doesn't make Jaspr get angry. No VOC paint is like a threshold. Like it doesn't mean it doesn't have other stuff in it. So yeah, letting the nursery breathe, letting the materials off gas. And then it's funny, people spend all this time and money making the nursery beautiful for themselves or for Instagram. Your baby doesn't care. Like baby doesn't.
I know, I say that all the time. It's like, I want the quality of the air that's good in there. And then what you're saying is to get the diaper genie out of the bedroom.
Yeah, the best practice for pee diapers, it's not horrible at all. Pee doesn't aerosolize as much, especially if you have air filtration in there. Like if you have an air filter in your nursery, pee diapers, emptying it a couple times a week, that's fine. Putting it in the bathroom is better with the bathroom fan running often. But the poo diaper should go directly to the trash. And I tell this story a lot, but I told Rachel because she originally was like, hey, I was like, let's get those poopy diapers outside. And she was like, hey, it's easy for you to say, but I'm changing 20 diapers a day and it's a lot. And I got a million things on my mind. And I was just like, fine, let's put the diaper genie in our bedroom tonight and see what it's like. And she was like, no, I'm not sleeping with that thing in my room. So to any parent out there that does not want to move the diaper pail out of their bedroom, their baby's room, I just think as a rite of passage, you owe it to yourself and to your child to sleep with it one night in your own room and see how you like it. And also adults breathe 10 to 20,000 times a day. Babies breathe 60,000 times a day. Their respiratory rate is so much higher and their immunity and their filtration essentially is not really robust yet. They still haven't gotten all their illnesses and sicknesses out of the way. So if you think about it, you have an immunocompromised baby with a high respiratory rate sleeping in a bacteria room. I just don't like this. And it's not like, yeah, I just get a Jaspr and don't worry about it. Jaspr will cover the pee. It'll help with the off-gassing, the cooking, the particulate, the mold spores, the allergens. But poo is something we should be controlling at the source level and get that stuff directly outside immediately. If you're in a building, put it in a bag, put it by your front door, throw it down the garbage chute a couple times a day. Like this is a nuisance that is well worth it. There's a lot of value in doing this.
For sure. Yeah, that's really great point. Never thought about it until I was like, oh yeah, that thing does stink. And then you always only change it when it stinks really bad. But by that point, the bacteria level is super, super high.
I'm actually going to, you know what? I think it's time for me to film some content around that study where I set up all my gadgets. Adele is too. She does still use diapers. So what I'll do is I'll set up a controlled environment in a bathroom setting and we'll put some poopy diapers in there for a few days. And then I'll test the air before and during and just actually give people the data behind this. So.
No, that's a great little, and I mean, so you're talking about your wife is cooking, the Jaspr is kicking up. That's like, you said that last time that we made cooking an indoor thing not that long ago. And so the impact that it actually has. So besides having a Jaspr, what are some other things that you do to help with the cooking gas off?
And by the way, we were at a 27 when I showed you the screen maybe 10 minutes ago, and she said it was red, which means it was 60, maybe 150 plus. And now it's still hit silently, and we're down to a 12, and it's continuing to go down. Cooking is definitely the number one source of airborne pollution in a home. I mean, mold is more severe indoors, but cooking is literally a thing that we do that pollutes. So it's not just like, even if you're using grass fed, grass finished steak with organic avocado oil, all the right stuff in a clean cast iron pan or whatever, it's not just the meat and the oil that you're breathing in. There's a lot of chemical off gassing and byproducts. When you have heat and protein, you get a lot of other chemical compounds that get created. For example, one's called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. When we would do wildfire restoration, that's one of the things we would be testing people's homes for, PAH. I think sulfur dioxide, and there's a bunch of other things that get put into the air that you can't see and smell. So it's not that the food is inherently bad, it's the chemical byproducts of the cooking process, high heat and protein and oils. Also, when you eat food, it goes into your digestive system, which is this robust machine with acids that break things down, pull out the nutrients you need and filter out the rest. When the food and the air goes into your respiratory system, you don't have that digestive system working for you. So it really irritates your respiratory system. It's very inflammatory. And that's where you get a lot of problems when you're breathing food instead. Just because you can eat something, it does, like you can't drink and eat the same way, just like you can't breathe in the same way. You don't want to sniff everything just because you could eat it. Making sure people's range hoods work. So it's doing a tissue test, taking a Kleenex or a paper towel, making sure the range hood actually pulls at all. I'd say over half of people's range hoods aren't working for one reason or another. If it's not pulling it out of your hand and holding it up there, like entirely, not half, but entirely, it's not working. And then even if it is pulling, you want it to be venting outside. A lot of people's range hoods vent into the cabinet, the attic, the crawl space. This is not ideal.
No.
If the cooking you're doing allows for it, put the range hood, like when you're cooking eggs or something, it can be a little annoying, but if you're boiling something, use the back burner. And if you have 3 burners, use the middle burner. The further back and then the closer to the middle, the more particulates are going to get captured by the range hood because you have more surface area of coverage. If you move it to the front, a lot of the particulates don't get captured by the vent unless it's like super powerful. So to summarize on the cooking front, you want to make sure your range hood is pulling air. You want to make sure it's venting outside, not into your attic, because that's going to bring moisture into the attic and create mold. And you also want to make sure that if you don't have great ventilation and the temperature is permitting, opening windows, if you can open 2 windows it doesn't have to be opposite sides of the house, but ideally not right beside each other. But the more across the house, you'll create a cross breeze, and that'll actually purge all the cooking particulate out of the house. So, if it's super hot in the summer or cold in the winter, I get it. You don't have to do it. But when the weather is permitting and you can make your indoor air more harmonious with the outside environment, allow the wind to come inside and get more air exchanges, then the ventilation will be your best friend. And then, of course, if somebody has a Jaspr or another air filtration system, that's also going to contribute.
Yeah, it's huge. So when my husband cooks and he doesn't turn on the hood vents, the Jaspr will just go nuts. And I'm always like, you got to turn that on because it makes a big difference. And then opening the window, you can almost see the Jaspr just going from that 100, 200 to like just dropping to the regular, almost within like 5 minutes, I would say for sure. But that's something that you brought to my attention last time where I was like, I didn't realize cooking is such a big thing for the house, and it's huge. Like all of them in our rooms will go nuts. Obviously not the one in the basement because it's low, but upstairs all of them will go.
So it depends on the way your HVAC system is working. If it's actually working perfectly, your basement one should go just as red as the upstairs ones because it still should be mixing that air equally. So in some homes, 4,000 square foot house even, it's equally distributed. Often the Jaspers will all be at the same number everywhere. And when it comes to people who live in apartments that don't have balconies or windows, and often those range hoods almost never vent outside, that's when like you really need air filtration. It's a big deal. If you don't have ventilation, then your need for air filtration is that much more dire. and also using high quality oils and, good pans. People don't realize that nonstick pans expire. I think it's every 2 years. So either don't use nonstick pans, but if you do, like they're $20, $29 replacing them regularly. So instead of having like 5 pans, just have two that you can keep a track of and change them with more regularity. I think that's a good practice as well.
Yeah.
And know that your furnace fan is not designed to clean your air. It's designed to keep your furnace free from particles, hair, nails, screws, dust, dander, etc.
Yeah.
Because we have a bunch of Jaspers at home, even if I look at my air filters after like a year, they're still pristine.
Yeah, our landlord is always on us like, you gotta change your air filter. I'm like, don't worry, I have my Jaspers now. It's totally fine. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about occupational. So hairdressers, nail salons, some people are working in basements and cubicles. The ones that are very interesting to me as the hairdressers and like nail salons, because I think those people are probably some of the ones that are exposed the most to chemicals. And I've had some hairdressers who gotten the Jaspr and it's standing next to them. It's like just with one little spray of a whatever hairspray that they're using, Jaspr goes nuts and then comes back down. Recommendations, thoughts?
These are some of the environments with the worst air. Dentists are actually the worst of all.
Really? Why?
The Department of Labor, the Department of Defense, one of the big US departments of something, ranked, I think it's labor. They rank dentists and dental hygienists as two of the top most 5 dangerous jobs, more than coal workers, miners, cops, firefighters, because the two dirtiest places of the body are your mouth and your butt. And when they're blasting high velocity water and air into people's gums all day long, that is spreading everywhere. So you have all of these, it's called bioaerosols. And some dentists are using an evacuator to suction in that area, but it's like a range hood. It misses more than it captures. Most dentists don't. You might be, a lot of people, they are used to the little extractor that they put to pull the water out. Not that. There's literally like a big range hood that some dentists use. Most do not use this. They got much more popular during COVID. And when you test the air quality in a dental office, it is filled with viruses and bacteria like no other. So I actually refused. Dentists were one of the biggest like for our first year of the company, we only sold air purifiers to dentists and doctors. And I would not go to a dental office that doesn't have high quality air filtration. No way. And the dentist is wearing a mask and the hygienist is wearing a mask and the patient's mouth is wide open. And you don't know what disease, even if they're healthy, it's gross, but someone could literally have tuberculosis or a serious illness or just landed on a plane from anywhere. And now you're breathing in their stuff from the dirtiest part of them. So dentists are like one of the largest areas for hazards that we go to on a, couple times a year basis. Salons are very bad as well. I believe that to be more of an issue for the people working in the salon. I don't think getting your hair cut twice a year, getting your nails done. I'm very chemical sensitive. I say there is one significant downside to having a Jaspr at home, and it can turn you into an air snob. It's like when you discover filtered water, you become a water snob and you don't want to drink tap water. You can taste the chlorine or you can taste the hardness. But the same thing can happen with air. Once you start drinking really filtered air, all of a sudden you go to a hotel, you go into restaurants, you go to an Airbnb, you're like, this air is hard to breathe. This air stinks. I can almost not even go to malls anymore.
Yeah, malls are terrible.
Malls are horrible. Not just the Lush and the Bath and Body Works. It's all kinds of stuff. They're cooking, they're indoors. And a commercial building is trying to save money on energy. So by nature, they're very airtight boxes, even more than a house. So yeah, salons are very bad. I honestly feel deeply for the people who are working at salons and barber shops and nails and all that stuff. It's terrible what they're breathing in all day.
What do you recommend? Like, does a Jaspr? Because I've had people who gotten a Jaspr, and it's not. It only goes off when you're spraying stuff, but otherwise, like the quality is pretty good, and that's where I get confused because I'm like, well, is it or?
This is a lack of education from Jasper, and we're working on it. So right now, that when it says excellent in green, that is only measuring your PM 2.5. You might notice sometimes it goes up to fan speed 2, even when it's green. That's because it's detecting the VOCs in the air. So this is an education problem, and it's our fault, and we have to own that. And like, for example, there's no technology in place for an air purifier to detect mold or to detect allergens. That technology does not exist. You need to use a lab. So we're actually removing the excellent indicator from the new Jaspr because it might be excellent from PM 2.5, but it doesn't mean it's excellent for mold or for bioaerosols or for viruses. It's not detecting everything. It's like when you test your water for total particles, it's not testing it for bacteria or chlorine. Different. PM 2.5 is the best thing we have to control fan speed for cooking, for particles, for pollution, for smoke, but it's not everything. So just because it says excellent, it doesn't mean it's excellent. So we're working on that. It means it's excellent from a PM 2.5 perspective, which is the most harmful particle, but it's not like a holistic one size fits all.
It's not the only particle that's causing damage.
Yeah, so you might notice, if people pay attention, Jaspr will, however, kick up to fan speed 2, and that's when it detects VOCs. So the new Jaspr screens that we're going to be rolling out, and we'll probably send them to everybody who has old Jaspers. We'll probably send everybody an upgrade kit, so it doesn't matter what model they have, but they actually will have an indicator light that says VOC scrubbing. So when VOC mode is activated, it'll show you on the screen. Yeah, so that is very important, and we're going to have that there. So in a salon, though, it's just horrible. Hairspray, salons, nails, all that kind of. If you smell fragrances,
Yeah.
it's bad stuff.
Yeah. And so would you just keep the Jaspr on at like speed 3 the whole time?
In what setting are you referring to?
Like if you're a hairdresser, because this is the issue, right? Like if you're a hairdresser or you own a nail salon and it's like not really an option for you not to spend time in that area, but it's impacting your overall health and potentially fertility, like in my space.
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to people who are working in salons, smart mode would do a lot still because it's going to be nonstop. But fan speed 2 would probably be a perfect balance where it's not going to be loud, it's not going to be intrusive, and it can be running all the time. So, and also there are more holistic, at least in Austin, there's holistic wellness salons and spas that have better ventilation, they have better, less toxic products. So if you're a consumer and you can find a more natural place to go, that would be good. But if you work there, I would really advocate for yourself to have a high quality air filter running all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And then just like changing up the products. Because I think that's a really big eye opener for people too, right? Like if you're not supposed to get your nails done when you're pregnant, then like, why are you doing it on a regular basis? That's kind of, the approach that I take on. You touched already on you don't really have smaller products because they don't really work.
Exactly. There's no pickup truck that's the size of a Honda Accord because it wouldn't pull anything because it would be too small. The laws of physics apply here. If you were to make a small air purifier, it would have to be so loud. It would have to sound like a jet engine to be moving enough air at all. Size really matters. It's like if you think about a car, the first gear is the loudest gear. When you're on the highway on 5th or 6th gear or 10th gear, it's quiet because the bigger the gear, the less rotations for the same amount of momentum. Jaspr is the same. So if we would make so much money if we made a $3.99 or $4.99 affordable air purifier, but I can't bring myself to make somebody a product that is not excellent. There's other companies out there that make tiny air purifiers, and if we're not truly solving a unique problem in the market, then I don't see a point for us to exist in that market. So we're not trying to be everything to everybody. If some people are on really tight budgets, we totally appreciate that. We can't be everything to everybody. And if somebody wants a really effective air purifier, there are ugly, large, loud options that clean the air just as good. What we are for is somebody who wants a quality machine that's going to last decades, no headaches, no nuisance, amazing support, beautiful aesthetic, easy to set up, easy to use, fits in a corner. That's who we're here for. To those who are like, honestly, I don't care about my house design. I don't care at all. Like, we're not the machine for a contractor to use on construction sites. They can buy a big, ugly metal box for cheaper that will clean the air better. But it's not really a consumer product. So same thing. That's why we're working to get into a lot more hotels. I literally travel with my Jaspr and it's incredibly annoying and it's not fun. And the box gets damaged and sometimes I can't bring it home. So we're working to educate. And 14 days, I'm going to be at a hotel summit in Miami, educating hotels on air quality and air quality's impact for sleep. Hotels don't realize they say they're in the service business, and they are, but they're really selling sleep as a service. They're in the sleep business. And if they can increase the quality of people's sleeps by 50, 60, 70%, even 20%, that's going to be something for them to start competing on. So we're here to help the hotels who care about excellent sleep. Like, what an amazing opportunity for hotels to have whatever 8 sleeps, humidity. Like, if there was a biohacked, health optimized hotel that was an extra $100 a night, 200 a night, so many people would sleep there. It would help you with jet lag and humidity and mitigate the sleep impacts of the jet lag and the dryness and all that. So
Perform at conferences, right? Like usually you're traveling for work and whatever, and if you're traveling and it's poor, it's huge. Yeah, that makes me smile because that was, another question. It's like, what do you do with travel? Because sometimes you walk in and it's like the hotel is like it just stinks.
I'm going to start also making a content series because whenever I travel, I bring all my air quality detectors. I have a $5,000 particle sensor VOC detector. I bring it with me and I test the air, and then I test it again with Jaspr running. And I typically get about a 95% reduction in 2 hours. I can get about an 80% reduction in 20 minutes. And it changes the game entirely. Now, there are, however, and also, like you said, for conferences, you want to be performative, you want to be focusing, but nothing worse than taking your family to Disney World and you get sick on day 2 because the person who was there before you had a cold. And now it's like people get sick traveling all the time. It's not from the plane. It's really not. I've tested so much air on planes. Planes have some of the cleanest air I've ever tested. Their filtration systems are world class. The CO2 is high, so that can give you some fatigue and brain fog. The humidity is sometimes dry. Drink some water. That's not great. But from a particle standpoint, they're like operating rooms. Hotels, on the other hand, have carpets and horrible air. That's often why you get sick. So how annoying to spend $3,000 to $13,000 on a family vacation and you get sick on the second day. And often it's an air quality thing. You're not eating or drinking anything in the room, and you're not rubbing it on your skin. So the only way your hotel room is going to make you sick is if you're breathing it in. And a lot of times when they have mold, they just paint over it. So a couple tips: if a hotel room is very dry, put water on a towel and put the towel in front of the vent or the radiator, and that creates a natural humidifier. That's kind of a tip and trick that I use on hotels a lot.
Yeah, and then like open windows if you can. A lot of them don't have windows.
If you can, they almost never open. Yeah, almost never.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Do you do any essential oils or anything like that, or that just kind of masks the smell but doesn't do anything?
Yeah, it actually triggers the Jasper. It's really hard to find a clean essential oil. And just because they were clean last year, it doesn't mean they're going to be clean on the next batch or the next year, or if they change manufacturers. So I don't know. I think essential oils are really great and they smell really nice, but I like them only if I'm filtering the air, if I have a window open. I don't like using essential oils in a contained space. Where do the essential oils come from? Nature. Where is nature used to living? Outside. So when you take an essential oil and you trap it indoors, that's just not where it wants to be. I actually get nauseated from essential oils because essential oils want to breathe too. So if they're not, either the air is not being filtered or you don't have fresh air and ventilation, then I steer clear of that stuff. But if you have filtered air or a cracked window, then I think it can be a great tool.
Yeah, and like a good way to advocate for people like with occupational stuff is, do you recommend, because I think having data is really helpful, do you recommend like actually getting a particle measurement? How do you convince people that they need this?
I've seen people get fired from their jobs from complaining about the air too many times, and I would say that's not the place you want to work at anyway.
For sure, yeah.
Truthfully, no occupational places have good air. No homes have good air. Indoor air is bad. Indoor air is dirty. We weren't meant to live in these Tupperware containers that we call homes. If you trap trees, the sun, and wind, and you remove yourself from nature in a home that is built from chemicals and off-gassing materials, I've never tested a home before with excellent air. And offices are worse because they have to really prioritize cost and efficiency even more than a house. So you might not be in a factory with critical air, but if you work in an office with carpets, with materials, with printers, like laser inkjet printers, how much of the ink is floating around the air. Offices are horrible air. That's just the reality of the situation. So a good employer actually knows how to put high quality air filtration in and explain that to their staff, you're going to get better focus, better productivity. You're going to decrease absenteeism. You're going to have increased loyalty. Like employers will actually make money by investing in clean air. And the people we work with have seen that, but a lot of people haven't yet.
Yeah. If we can finish on this, like, how would you build a house for optimal air quality?
So ideally it's in Hawaii or Vancouver Island or Costa Rica in the rainforest. And it would be harmonious, like it'd be a tree house that has no doors and no windows, just a big screened in porch. But that's not really practical. And that's my way of saying like trees and wind and sun are actually what you want. But for everybody else who needs to live in a house or an apartment or something, if you are building a house custom from scratch, then I like in-floor radiant heating to cut down on dust. And I like an ERV system that has a HEPA system installed. So while your air is being pulled in, it's being filtered on intake for pollen and smoke and mold. And then I would have Jaspers decentralized in each bedroom of the house to filter the air. I would have a whole home water filtration system, depending on hardness and softness. And then literally, I'm talking no expenses spared. I would order bottled spring water over any filtration system. Like when I drink reverse osmosis water, it does not quench my thirst at all. I still feel dehydrated. And they say remineralize it and add stuff back in, but I want water that comes from the ground perfectly. Stripping my water and then trying to put it back the way nature intended it to be just doesn't sit right with me. I haven't gone deep here. I can't say that that's not the right way to do it. But if you can get spring water, it's perfect. Water is perfect the way it comes. It rained, the ground filtered it, you drink it. Awesome. You know, the spring companies still usually run it through a sediment filter or something like that, or maybe a little UV, but they're not stripping everything out of it. Now, that's from building a house's perspective.
And like no carpet, no, would you do like wood versus brick? Does that matter?
I'm torn on carpets because I think carpets are really comfortable. And I think area rugs that you shake out, and if you have a HEPA vacuum and you vacuum them. So if you have a carpet, you know, you need to either get them steam cleaned once a year, and you should be using a HEPA vacuum to vacuum them seasonally. But if you aren't going to have good carpet hygiene, then you shouldn't have carpets. But, you know, they're softer on my knees. They make you feel more on your feet. They feel very comfortable. So I think area rugs are really effective. So not like built-in carpets, but large area rugs in your bedroom, in the living room. I'm not super opposed to that. Also, it depends if you're filtering your air or not. Because if you have significant air filtration in your home, then you're capturing all these particles before they land on the surfaces, before you have dust, before it's in your carpet. So yeah, if you aren't filtering your air, no carpets is better. No furniture is better. Like all of these things are porous things that capture more stuff. For me, I have Wi-Fi. My house actually came with hard wiring and I like no EMF, but I have Wi-Fi. I've made a choice that I'm using an AirPod right now. You know, I'm not perfect because I think perfection is the enemy of good. I want to be conscious with my choices. So some of my choices might be EMF problematic. I use a nonstick pan sometimes. Rachel doesn't. I have not been able to crack the code of stainless steel and make it not stick to the pan. And now I'm burning everything. I'm putting more particles in the air. I'm scrubbing it. I'm cleaning it. So I use a nonstick pan because I only cook once or twice a week, but I change my pans often. So I think everything's a balance. And I think the worst thing for your health is obsessing over everything. So I think you got to decide, don't be an unconscious consumer that doesn't look at, if you can dial in, if you can get organic food, use some better oils, use some, you know, filter your water, filter your air, use non-toxic cleaning products. It's an 80-20 situation.
Yeah, I was going to say that's at least 80% of what you should be doing and you'd feel 100% better. I think it's the unconscious, like when you're not aware of what you're doing and the impacts that it has, that's when it's an issue.
I feel like I removed gluten from my diet and my skin is just like instantly improving. And once I took a month off gluten, if I eat a piece of bread now, I'm done for the day. I want to lie down and I know the real answer. And if my body says lie down, I know the right thing to do is go for a walk for an hour. Like do the opposite of what it's like. Sometimes you want to listen to your body and then sometimes you want to do the exact opposite.
Well, it's the body's telling you that because it's tired, but it's not what it needs. It's tired from processing it, you know, because it's a lot. It's a big hit, just like you might be craving sugar when you're tired, but it's not because you need sugar, it's because you actually just need sleep.
Is this a good place to wrap, or do you have any additional questions?
No, that's it. That's what I thank you. How to build a house, how to have the I think what you said before, it's I don't want to say it's cheap, but like it's an easy thing to do. Once you filter water, if you're still drinking the same amount of water, the quality of that water coming in is much better. And the same with like I have my Jaspers just turned on all the time now instead of just when I was in the room.
When you travel, put them on fan speed 3 as well, because when you're traveling, the noise won't bother you. The energy is very effective, and that way it's going to be filtering the air while you're gone. And honestly, I used to think Jaspers were expensive. I really did. If people buy, the more you buy, the more you save. We are able to give discounts on them. But here's the thing: people, if you have a mold problem in your home, and if you have a house, you have a mold problem. I've tested the air of 3 to 5,000 homes before. I've mold is outside, mold is inside, mold is everywhere. The problem is outdoor mold has the sun, it has the wind, it has the hydroxyl radicals from the wind, it has filtration built in. It's got UV from the sun. You don't have these things inside. They say 70% of homes have mold. I think it's more like 100% of homes have mold, at least 99%. It's better in Alberta, where you are. It's better in the dry climates. But in the desert climates, they get the dust storms, and that has ancient mold from back when that was underwater. So I believe if you have a mold problem, it's not usually a big black patch of mold that you can see. It's airborne mold and mycotoxins that you can't see and you can't smell and you can't taste. And it doesn't mean they're not really having an impact on you. And because the mold doesn't want to be trapped in the house any more than you do, and it's trying to survive and escape. So it's trying to replicate and grow and create mycotoxins, and it's under stress in your house, especially when you try to make it, when you add cold or cleaning agents, it's trying to survive. And yeah, when you heat, it also helps it grow. So it's an uncomfortable, mold doesn't want to be indoors either. This whole indoors thing is not good for any of us. And, they say humans are closer to fungi than fungi is to the rest of plants and vegetables. So just the way you want to get outside, so does the mold. And if you have a mold problem at home, you're typically going to get a restoration contractor trying to charge you $5 to $100,000 to start ripping your house apart. And if you test your air a week after he's gone, it's going to be moldy again. So an air purifier for $1,000 is expensive, but to spend $2,600 to have whole home air filtration, your pollen is done, your smoke, your mold, and then for a little over $1 a day per filter, you got clean air for life. If you understand that what you're buying is essentially mold-free living and you're saving tens of thousands of dollars of playing whack-a-mole, it's actually very cost-effective. So it depends the perspective that you have. And
Yeah, it's been eye-opening for me. Like with the stale, when you come, so we're going away for a couple days tomorrow, and usually when you come home, there's just this stale smell because there's no circulation, right? Like sure, the fan is still running, but like we're not in the house. There's no doors that are being open and closed and whatever. And so that trick of turning all the air Jaspers on speed 3, it's like it's huge. I come home and the air is just fresh, and you're like, okay, fresh air. This is what it's. There's no circulation. Like
usually if you leave for a month, there's more dust accumulates and everything, and you're not living in the house. And usually people turn their air conditioner or their heat down to be more efficient, which means their furnace fan is only running a little bit of the time.
yeah.
Some furnaces allow you to keep the fan running consistently, even if the AC and heat aren't running, which is a great idea. Do you know what day you're going to, is this just for your community, or do you intend to drop this as a podcast?
Dropping this as a podcast.
Okay. Do you know when you want to drop it?
No idea. My production team will do that.
Okay. Well, whatever date, let us know when you know. And whatever date today is, for anyone who's like, you know what, I decided I want to invest in clean air, for the first week after the podcast comes out, we'll increase the code Dr. Jane to 20% instead of 10%. And then it'll go back to its evergreen 10%. And remember, that is not instead of, that will combine with the discounts on our website. So we give 10% off if somebody buys 2. So 10% plus 20% is 30%. So they'll see on the website, the more they buy, the bigger the discount gets. And your 20% will stack on top of that. And then it'll go back to 10% forever. So the day that this comes out, today or yesterday, depending when you're listening to this, it'll be 20% off for 7 days. And yeah, just have your team shoot us a message and let us know when, so we can upgrade the code for your audience.
I appreciate you. Thank you. I hope people understand how valuable it is. Like it has been a game changer for my kids. Like honestly, waking up with how much sick they've been, like basically not getting sick and getting over the cold. And my youngest having basically a wheeze that I thought was from the time where I was pregnant with her at the 9-month mark. There was a lot of wildfires, and I know that impacted her lung development. And it's huge. Like, she doesn't have that rasp anymore. She doesn't have the wheeze. She doesn't get sick. Like, it's insane. So forever grateful for you and your product. Thanks for being here, Mike.
My pleasure. Have a great day.